Welcome to Creating the Good with AARP Illinois, a show with inspiring people who we hope will inspire you. And now, your hosts, Bob Gallo and Rosanna Marquez.
Hi, I am Bob Gallo, State Director of AARP Illinois, and I'm here with my co-host, Rosanna Marquez, State President of AARP Illinois. We're excited to be here with you on our new weekly radio show, Creating the Good with AARP Illinois. We'll be talking with some fascinating folks who are making a big difference in their local communities.
Today, we have two very special guests who will talk about a wonderful program that offers art workshops to older Latinos, especially those with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or dementia. It's called La Brocha, which is Spanish for the paintbrush. The workshops are held in Chicago's Pilsen and Little Village neighborhoods, and participants and their loved ones work on an art program led by artists and art therapists.
The La Brocha workshops help participants improve their self-esteem and relieve anxiety and feel more self-sufficient. So here with us is Judith Rocha, an assistant professor at Northeastern University and co-founder of La Brocha, and Connie Saldivar, the caregiver of her husband, who is a La Brocha participant. So thank you both very much for being here today on Creating the Good with AARP Illinois.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. So let's start with Judith Rocha. Welcome, and tell us the story of how La Brocha was founded. What made you decide to do this?
4 years ago or so, Mom and I decided to go to an art workshop that was led by the artist Robert Valadez in Pilsen. And that month, he was focusing on a portrait of Maria Felix, which is a Mexican actress from the 50s that is one of Mom's favorites. So I signed us up. I thought that she might be interested in something like that. And she just absolutely loved it. She couldn't stop talking about it and how excited she was to be able to do something like this. I remember that car ride back home that night, and I felt so compelled by her statement saying, I feel honored to have been able to do art. So that really just stuck with me. And when I saw an opportunity for some funding, I reached out to a couple of colleagues that are doing some great work in the aging and Alzheimer's sector and brought this idea to them. They, obviously loved it as well, because now they're fully in and committed as much as I am, 4 years out, and we're still going strong, looking, as much as we can for all the resources that we can find to continue this work, because we've gotten such a great reception from the community and from folks that know our story. And it seems like we're definitely building these spaces that are very much needed in our community in terms of self-expression, in terms of opportunities for our elders to continue to socialize in community settings, and really focusing on their well-being, right? So we, like I said, are very committed to this.
Judith, what do you think art is a good outlet for self-expression for these individuals and older adults? What's the secret here?
So art obviously is just an amazing cultural aspect of our lives, right? That many times it takes us back to our childhood. Interestingly enough, though, for some of the elders that we've worked with, when we've asked them about art in their past, they'll say that they experienced painting, but painting walls, like when they were redoing their apartments or something back home in their homelands. It wasn't necessarily an intentional activity in a classroom setting, So this has brought not only the opportunity for those folks that did maybe engage in artwork in their childhood, but new experiences for other individuals that may have never tampered with a paintbrush, in this setting. So not only is it that experience of doing something new or something they remember, but it's also proven that things like creating art brings about so many benefits that, include things like attention span being increased because you're concentrated in this one image.
Right.
Things like relieving some anxiety, right? Because you're so focused in on maintaining your project here that you want to be as precise as possible, right? So anxiety is really another piece to helping soothe some of that, and just that feeling of accomplishment is such a big connector for our individuals in terms of working through a project and a goal, and then seeing the finished product and being proud of it.
Yeah, it's I'm glad you put that into words because I draw myself, and I've always felt those things too. And it's almost like a form of meditation to me to do that. So I love that. So can you give us you mentioned at the top of the show the program is really serving the Pilsen and Little Village neighborhoods. Why was focusing on those areas important to you in the program?
So when we first started, those were the two neighborhoods that we started in. I was born and raised in Little Village, and grew up there for many years. Moved further south and came back to live in Little Village as an adult. So it's definitely something close to my heart in that regard. But we also see that there's large groups of families living in these neighborhoods that don't necessarily have the opportunity to engage in art, particularly our older adults, right? Many times what we see is that art programs are focused for youth. And so being able to have these spaces for our elders is really important because it not only, continues to have this connection of community for them, but it also establishes their part in society, right? And the fact that they are an important component to our history, to our culture, and to everything that we continue to do. So we do see these types of programming in other, more affluent neighborhoods, maybe white affluent northern neighborhoods or suburbs, but we haven't necessarily seen them as much or at all in the predominantly Latinx communities that we've been focusing on. So Little Village, Pilsen, but then we've also extended out to places like Gage Park, Brighton Park. We've gone to Southeast Chicago as well. Currently this year, we were expanding out to even Cicero because that's another location that, has a large Latinx population and definitely in need of resources and services. So,
yeah.
Those have been the areas that we have focused on at this point.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for explaining that. Can you share a little bit about the participants of the program? What differences do you see in them by engaging in their own artistic abilities?
Yeah, we're actually pretty proud that we have a following. So, like I mentioned, we've gone through different neighborhoods: north, south, southeast, southwest. And we have some folks that will follow us no matter where we go. So our thought was we'll bring it to them, right, to wherever they reside. But the impact and I guess the benefit that they feel is so great that they actually want to know where we're going next, and they don't mind, traveling or finding ways to get to these spaces. So it's definitely been, I feel, an opportunity to, like I mentioned before, building community, right, and knowing that they have a space where they're respected, where they're taken care of, where we'll feed them. When we ask our participants what they like the most about our activities, they say the food. So
who doesn't like that in going to an event, right? Yeah, that's wonderful. Rosanna, over to you.
Yeah, and so speaking of participants, let's welcome Connie Saldivar. Her husband has been in the La Brocha program. Welcome, Connie.
Thank you.
All right. So why did your husband first start going to La Brocha art classes?
I received the invitation from Judy, and he was a little nervous, and there was a little anxiety at the beginning because he had never painted before. But I told him I was going to be there, so that's what he likes, the company and the help. And when he saw the teacher, there was a teacher guiding us, and they were telling you mix the blue with the white and the white with the red and all those different options. Not only with that kind of help, but also coming to check every every so often to make sure that he didn't go out the line, and telling him, good job, good job. That did it. Um, that was the first time. And then after that, and after lunch, he really wanted to go back every time we were invited.
That's wonderful. So what has your husband particularly loved about the classes? What's been his favorite part besides the eating?
Besides it, well, the food was always the first part, but he knew he had to do the homework first. So he had to do the painting, he had to enjoy it, and he took his time to do it. And it was because the theme of most of the paintings were inspired in this Mexican loteria, which is like the bingo,
Right.
and a lot of the images, the pictures were from that loteria. It was familiar to him. So he was happy to see an opal, a tree, the fish. He recognized those. So he did enjoy that.
Excellent.
What about El Gallo?
We didn't have a gallo.
We'll do it for the next one.
All right. Well, we're going to take a real short break here and look forward to continuing our conversation in just a moment. You're listening to Creating the Good with AARP Illinois. We'll be right back.
Today is your day to make a difference. AARP is here in Illinois working hard to make it an even better place to live, work, and play. You can help us too. Get involved as an AARP volunteer. Help advocate for the issues that matter in our state and community, which could improve the quality of life for yourself and the people around you. For more information on ways you can get involved in your local community, visit aarp.org/il.
And we're back. You're listening to Creating the Good with AARP Illinois. I'm Rosanna Marquez, State President of AARP Illinois, and I'm here with my co-host, Bob Gallo, State Director of AARP Illinois. We're speaking today with Judith Brocha, co-founder of the art program La Brocha, and Connie Saldivar. Her husband has been participating in the program. So Connie, let's continue where we left off before the break. You've set up an art gallery of your husband's work in your home, right?
Yes.
What did you think? And what did he think of that?
Oh, he was very proud of it, and it comes from the when my sons were little, they did puzzles. They started at age 3 with a 9-piece puzzle. So my house was full of puzzles. Up to now, they still like to do them, and they do the big ones. So we were always changing puzzles. And when he had his paintings, he thought, why didn't I put my paintings on like we used to do with the puzzles that my sons did? And my sons and I said, oh, that's a wonderful idea. So he was very proud to show his painting and to have them in the same way we had the puzzles, like when the kids were little.
Those are beautiful. Those are beautiful. The colors are beautiful, and I could see the inspiration from La Loteria. They look like the little panels right on the Loteria cards. So tell us how your husband felt at the annual La Brocha show at the National Museum of Mexican Art.
It was he didn't exactly know what was going on until we were there, and he was able to see all his paintings all around, and then he said, oh, I'm important.
Oh.
So he felt important, and we said, yes, you are important.
Of course he's important.
Of course he is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
so, go ahead, please.
I was gonna say the joy to share that with my sons, and to say, this is my painting, I did this one, and take a picture of me with it, it has no price.
That's true.
Because he was not the only one, but I can see how proud he was. I can see the joy in his face, and of course that made them feel good, and I appreciate it because for something as simple as that, it brings so much joy, and it stays at home, and it's something he can share for many, many months like he has. Up until now, he's asking, when are we going to go back to it? But of course, we can't do it.
Yeah, that makes my heart glad just knowing how he felt about that. So thank you in sharing that part of the story. So now, Judith, needless to say, we're facing a great challenge in our daily lives with this coronavirus pandemic, which definitely affects what you do. Since you can't do in-person workshops, how do you continue the program?
So that was the $1 million question, right? Back in
Right.
March, we knew that the need existed, especially now, because obviously, it was our elders that kept seeing the news and knowing they were at highest risk, right? And mortality rates were highest in our older adult population, not to mention, the communities of color being affected the way they have. And so it's been really scary in that regard of how do we continue to support our participants, because if nothing else, what La Brocha has brought, and I'll say it again, is the sense of community, right? And to try to fill that gap of the isolating feelings that our families sometimes have when they have elders that they either care for, or that they're elders themselves. And so we decided to invite artists to develop coloring sheets that had a particular theme, cultural. Obviously, we wanted to showcase some of the intricacies of our culture and celebrate them. And so we had artists develop coloring sheets to do a compilation of sheets for a coloring book. What we've done is then mailed those out with coloring pencils. And along that process, though, we've managed to do check-ins with our participants. We have been calling folks and just saying, hey, how's it going? How are you feeling? Do you need anything? Is there anything we can connect you with? Because, yes, maybe the scope of our work up to this point had been the art, but obviously these times are requiring that we do more. So, so we've been trying to stay connected as best we can. That's one of a couple of projects that we have going right now. We also have now started to collect recipes of individuals, given that maybe, they've had to adjust what they're eating, how they're eating, what they're getting from grocery stores or not. And so we thought, hey, why don't we ask if they're still trying to hold on to traditional recipes, or if they've had to make adjustments. And so we've asked folks, whoever wanted to contribute, to give us some recipes. And so we're creating what's going to be kind of a dual purpose, right? It'll be a recipe book, but it'll also be additional coloring sheets, given the art component. So we're going to get ready for that in the next couple of months. And then we've also had a wonderful artist that has given us his talent to go around and take pictures, socially distanced pictures of some of our participants that are interested in it, so that we can capture and document how folks are doing in the visual arts as well, right? And so with the hopes that, I don't know if it'll be an end of the year celebration like we typically do, if it'll be next year, whenever it is that we can come together safely again, we'd like to be able to showcase those. And I know Connie and Alvaro have participated in that, as well as other folks at this point, and they've just loved that. So, it's just something, again, to stay connected, to let them know, hey, we're here, we're still interested, we're engaging, we're trying to find ways. I know that some of the folks have been asking, well, when will we be able to meet again? We don't have the answer to that, right, but we're still trying to be innovative in finding ways to connect with them.
Yeah, we're all looking for that answer, I know, but it's wonderful how you've been able to shift the program and still make it meaningful and being able to engage with the participants. I love how you've been able to do that. Fantastic. So what are some of the areas and ways that folks who want to make their own meaningful contribution to La Brocha, how can they volunteer? What can they do to help?
I mean, Yeah, we'll definitely take folks that volunteer. Maybe there's special things that you do already and you think you can contribute that to something that we can incorporate with our, folks and participants. But if anyone is ever interested, they can either reach us over Facebook. We have the La Brocha Chicago Facebook page, which is probably the quickest way to connect with us. If, I can share a phone number for us as well at the end. But anyone that feels that they'd like to help in one way or another, and if you have ideas, that's the other piece too, right? So my counterparts and myself, we all have full-time jobs. I mentioned I'm a caregiver as well. So it's been quite the journey, to add this COVID situation to the mix. So sometimes not, being in my full mental capacity is a real thing. And so sometimes people will come with ideas and we'll, unpack those and figure out how we can make it work. And so that's where things like the recipe book came about, to be honest. It wasn't something that we came up with. It was one of our former artists that had given a workshop in the past, and she's very committed to the work that we do. And she said, hey, can I be the one that calls them and talks to them and has a conversation with them? I'll ask them about recipes. And that's how we started talking about this recipe book. So it's folks that really feel, like I said, passionate and dedicated to the type of work that we can do and continue to provide these self-expression opportunities for the folks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And don't forget, Judith, as a caregiver yourself, you need to take care of yourself. So please make sure you're doing that. Rosanna?
Yeah. So Judith, before we go, what do you hope your work inspires others to do?
So great question. I always say I feel very committed to including and always incorporating the elders in conversations, right? And when we speak of community development, when we speak of family work, when we speak of social services, when we speak of even the services in the city and around the city, how are we always keeping in mind the needs of the elders? Because many times we feel the family will handle it, but guess what? The family's got a lot going on too. So, it's being able to have that intentional conversation about the well-being of our elders. And that's what I feel with, building community is also establishing presence. And so that's the presence I'd like to bring into this with La Brocha is, we're here and we have a lot for our folks to continue to contribute. So let's find ways to do that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, and on that note, it's time for us to go. Judith and Connie, what a pleasure to talk with both of you. Thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing with us this wonderful program to help older Latinos and inspire others to help create the good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was Judith Rocha, an assistant professor and co-founder of La Brocha, an art program in Chicago's Little Village community and Pilsen neighborhoods that help older Latinos.
And we were also joined by Connie Saldivar. Her husband was a participant, or is a participant in the program. Thank you both for being with us today and telling us about all the great work that you're doing.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into Creating the Good with the AARP Illinois, a new show where every week we'll talk with those who are making a difference in their community.
We look forward to being with you next week.
So for more information on ways you too can get involved in your local community, visit createthegood.org.
Or to learn more, visit aarp.org/IL.